Mike Johnson, last week, we finally ended the speaker battle after 3 weeks of trying to figure someone out. First, Kevin McCarthy got ousted. Then Steve Scalise barely had a chance. Then it was Jim Jordan for a while. He got rejected. More of the Freedom Caucus side, more to the right side. And then Tom Emmer didn't even get a vote. He knew he didn't have the votes, more of a moderate Republican. And then we finally landed on Mike Johnson. So I guess, Thomas, why was that? Why did we come to Mike Johnson from Louisiana?
Probably because he was the less controversial one for a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying he said some stuff in the past, but I think in regards of okay, I think he got like what the 20 Republicans that held out against Jim Jordan. I think he said something to keep them happy, and then he kept the Freedom Caucus happy. So they're like, all right, you're good enough. And Jim Jordan is also he was a vice chair of the Republican conference, and he's pretty much good with the issues and as speaker, he just passed an appropriations bill, and then next week, I think they're going to propose a bill to expel Republican from New York, George Santos, which was pretty good. I think we George Santos has to go. Kevin
I did
McCarthy
not
can
know
come
about
in.
that. Huh. Yeah.
Well, the New York Republicans want him gone. So
Yeah, and that's been for a while. So we'll get to that in a little bit. That's pretty interesting. But Mike Johnson must just be a really personable guy, I guess, because what I heard about why Jim Jordan got thrown to the curb is people, especially in the swing districts, knew going home to their voters. Yeah, I just voted for the guy who was going to go overturn the 2020 election. He's on Fox News a lot. He's talking about this. Very conservative, and that's fine. You're a Republican. You're supposed to be conservative, right?
mhm.
So that's what Jim Jordan is. 2022, 25 Republicans were like, "Yep, sorry, just can't do it." So then you go to Mike Johnson, who is very conservative on social issues. Again, nothing wrong with that. You're a Republican, but it's amazing. Not one person voted against Mike Johnson in the Republican caucus.
Outside of Derek Van Orden, who wasn't there, but he had some other businesses to attend to.
Is there reporting if he would have voted or not?
You probably would have voted for him, but
Oh,
the issue, like the only thing with Mike Johnson did try to do the 2020 election is overturn it, but I think at the same time he's like less known to the American person, the average American people.
but that's my point because Jim Jordan, you'll see him on Fox News every week. You'll
Right.
see him on Hannity. You'll see him on the radio shows. You might see him on a podcast. Mike Johnson, you won't see that. So yes, he's very conservative, but he's going to Washington with a goal to pass conservative legislation. Now you're the speaker, so you gotta like he may have been against Ukraine funding for a while. You gotta maybe pick that up a little bit, right? But overall, if you're a conservative, like I get the 2020 election stuff, I for sure get that, and he probably will have to address that at some point and be like, well, where do you stand on that? Where do you stand? But more importantly, where do you stand on going to 2024? We have another election coming up. But besides that, if you're a Republican, you're a conservative, you're looking at this guy's credentials, you got to be like, holy crap, we got a nice speaker right here. So, no, I think for sure there's room for optimism with Mike
Yeah.
Johnson.
But I think the issue is for the Republican Party. McCarthy was the one keeping funding for the California vulnerable Republicans, along with New York's. Is Mike Johnson going to be able to fundraise enough to keep a lot of these vulnerable Republicans in office by 2024? Because the Republicans did only win a 5-seat majority. People will throw blame at each other for it. So we have to focus on 2024. And if George Santos is going to be expelled and probably the special election will vote for a Democrat just because of Santos's like popularity is in the toilet. Um, so he would be in trouble there. So hypothetically, I'm only seeing a 4-seat. They could only flip 4 to 5 seats, and they got the Democrats at the majority. So with the North Carolina just redrew, and the Republicans have 4 opportunities to pick up seats there. But the Republicans are losing on a seat in Alabama. They're losing a seat they might lose a seat in Louisiana or Georgia or maybe even South Carolina.
Wisconsin
Then,
draw on the maps, I heard, but
hopefully Robin Voss does something about it. But
yeah,
then,
but
then you got New
no,
York. New York they're trying to gerrymander it too. So
which
the
had some
Republicans are going to
Republican.
be in trouble for that. But they're going to have to think. They're going to have to think outside the box here. Mike Johnson's going to have to figure it out and how we could unite the party so we could get our fundraising in and we could actually defeat a lot of these Democrats and these incumbents could be safe by 2024.
So that's going to be the real challenge now, is that this is a conservative party. You may even argue this is a MAGA party. We talked about that for sure with Donald Trump, who's likely going to be the nominee, right? But how far can you go, right? George Santos, very far, lied about pretty much everything just to get elected. He's there to make headlines. He's not there to be serious. Lauren Boebert, who is probably going to face, I don't know if she already is a Republican challenger, but she's
Yeah,
probably
she does.
okay, she's going to face a strong challenge. So there's going to be a point where the GOP realizes, okay, we got our conservative speaker. We have prominent MAGA voices in the House. What do we do now? How do we retain this lead? And I think Mike Johnson for sure has thought about this based on everything I've heard. I haven't heard him like parroting the most crazy stuff. I've heard him mainly parroting how he's going to do his job, how he's going to avoid a government shutdown. So that's good. But you also, yeah, you got to realize, okay, what voice is the part? Madison Cawthorn, for example, in 2022, he got primary. They realized that that he just crossed a line. So there is a couple House members, George Santos included, that we kind of got to say, pick it up, or we're going to primary, or we're going to even expel you and get you out. But I won't. What about Matt Gaetz? That's the open-ended question, right? Motion to vacate and all that, right? What happens from here going forward?
I don't even know about Matt Gaetz. I mean, I think he's more popular in his district, but he did underperform Ron DeSantis by a big margin in 2022 against a bad candidate. So there's going
Really,
to be
I
some
didn't know that.
controversy there. But I think with the DeSantis matter in Florida, I think he'll be fine. Um, really all going to depend on the VRA lawsuits and the New York gerrymandering and maybe even Wisconsin's. Hopefully, we could fight those too. And we have to pick up some seats in probably Michigan, Ohio. There's one in Illinois. There's an opportunity. Maybe one in Indiana. Then um, New Mexico has a seat we could try to flip, but they rejected a lawsuit against their map. And then you got Nevada's seats. So and then the Washington seat and maybe Alaska. So it's gonna be pretty hard. But can the Republicans do it? I say they can, but it's gonna be really hard.
I think they can too. And you made last point I got to make. You made a point about fundraising, and McCarthy was a good fundraiser. McCarthy was an overall good leader, but he's gone now. We got to move on, right? So Mike Johnson has the time. We're still a year away from the election. It seems like most people trust him. I'm not too worried about that, unless if he just doesn't put the work in. I'm not too worried about that. What I'm worried about is candidate quality. And if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, I think they've they're also going to have to face something, especially with I think the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. What kind of voices are too far for them? But it's going to be interesting. Candidate quality, it's been a thing for the last couple cycles. It for sure will be a thing again in 2024.